Ah, gingerbread. A little spicy, a little sweet, and 100% delectable. No matter how you slice it, top it, or bake it, we can't seem to get enough of it. Or at least I can't. Luckily, there's plenty to go around. From gingerbread's oldest recipes to the sweet secrets that pastry chefs use to build their dream house. Join me as we spice things up on The Secret Life of Gingerbread. There's nothing quite like fresh baked gingerbread, from that comforting aroma to that powerful, wonderful, pungent flavor. Nothing puts me in a better mood. There's no better treat that can take us so quickly to our childhood or make us so ready for the holiday season. Some might fancy a crisp cookie, while others swear allegiance to that square of soft, warm cake. And for a few, only a gumdrop studded house will do. Gingerbread's enduring popularity comes from that unique tongue-tingling flavor that's been a favorite for centuries. Before the Crusades of 1059 CE, ginger was a spice known only to those in Asia, India, and the Arabic lands of the Middle East. In these countries, ginger was valued not just for its taste, but as an all-purpose medicine to aid digestion, fight colds, and even relieve headaches. As the European Crusaders began to return home in the 11th century, they brought with them exotic sugars, nuts, citrus fruit, and spices, including, of course, ginger. But it wasn't until the 15th century that medieval bread makers mixed ground ginger with breadcrumbs, honey, and other spices for their bread mixes. With this combination, the popularity of ginger skyrocketed and continued to climb when medieval bakers discovered that ginger acted as a preservative for cookies as well as cakes and breads. Throughout Europe, each culture put its own unique spin on the form. The French made pain d'épices, or spice bread. Italians crafted dense, rich pan forte, which means strong bread, a testament to its spicy flavor. But it was in Germany and England where the gingerbread tradition truly flourished. In Germany, the name of the game was Lebkuchen, and where to find it? Right here, in Nuremberg. In fact, Nuremberg had two trading routes which gave them prime access to ginger, and the surrounding woods had plenty of beekeepers which gave them honey. Before you know it, making Lebkuchen was serious business. During the medieval era, Lebkuchen was made solely by monks in monasteries. The mixtures were often pressed into wooden molds to create elaborate shapes. Eventually, Lebkuchen was found at fairs, festivals, and celebrations. Lebkuchen makers formed guilds, and their recipes were closely guarded secrets. In fact, ingredients such as ginger, cinnamon, and cloves were only made available to guild members. At the same time, British gingerbread bakers were also being celebrated, and they often decorated their treats in gold leaf. These medieval versions of gingerbread piqued my curiosity. So I hit the historic Fair Hill Inn to meet medieval genius James Mateer for a lesson in Ye Old School Gingerbread 101. Today, he's brought a gingerbread recipe from the early 1400s that's made entirely on the stovetop, starting with boiling honey. Why boil?
In the original recipe, you're boiling the honey to remove a lot of the impurities. Today's honey is fairly pure, but you still want to bring it to a boil so you incorporate the breadcrumbs and the honey more together.
In those days, flour was considered too valuable a commodity for gingerbread, so you used white breadcrumbs. To that, we added ground ginger, plus a pinch of white pepper, and ample amounts of another popular medieval spice, cinnamon.
We have to add the breadcrumbs to it first, though, because cinnamon needs a binding agent, or else when you add it directly to the liquid, you will get clumps of cinnamon that won't break down.
Once the cinnamon was in, we added more breadcrumbs, and more breadcrumbs, bringing the mixture to what Jim referred to as a thick mass.
Oh, we're getting there, we're getting there.
and transforming me into what is commonly known as a fatigued host.
Imagine doing this not in a small saucepan like this, but in a huge pot or a huge cauldron for a lord's house or for a kitchen. The spoon you would have been using probably would have been 3 or 4 feet long.
Our mixture finally reached readiness. After a quick roll, it was ready. But not for the oven. These gingerbreads weren't baked. Once cut, we're ready to eat. But first, I conducted a quick side-by-side comparison with a modern gingerbread. Visually, you can almost sense that this is a softer, coarse meal almost, compared to the classic gingerbread, you know, that's kind of crunchy and thin. Then the taste test. Very nice, your classic gingerbread, crunchy, sweet, a little bit of cinnamon, I can taste that. I like it.
Very familiar taste, right?
Certainly. And now this guy here, oh, and that's nice and warm and soft. Oh, wow. That honey is so prevalent in there. And the spiciness of the pepper, you can really taste the pepper with the cinnamon, and most importantly, the ginger, which gives it a more, I guess, a holiday, a classic flavor to it. Jim brought along replicas of the ornate molds used by the medieval bakers. Are they pretty easy to mold?
It's very easy to mold, yeah, especially when it's still soft and it's fresh state like this.
Very nice. Jim took 2 squares of the gingerbread, rolled them together, pressed them into the mold, and popped it out. Come on, look at that flour. This I had to try. Give a little smack here. Look at that, look at that.
Oh, beautiful, wonderful.
Look at that.
Just right.
That's a nice imprint. And you can also decorate them with a little gold.
You can use gold powder. In period, they would have used gold paint or gold leaf. Today, we can get gold powders that are completely edible, and it brings out such beautiful detail that you normally can't see with just the plain gingerbread.
Tasting these medieval treats was like going back in time. Folks, gingerbread, old school. This form of medieval gingerbread changed in the 16th and 17th centuries, when flour replaced breadcrumbs, and molasses or treacle took over for honey. Butter and eggs also worked their way into the mix, bringing gingerbread closer to the modern form we know today. Coming up, we'll get some gingerbread house tips from the masters. But first, a top-secret Gingerbread Man recipe is revealed when the secret life of gingerbread returns. The best thing about gingerbread is that you get this incredible aroma and flavor. Gingerbread is amazing when topped with sweet decorations that perfectly offset the sharp tang of ginger, and this taste is available in a variety of shapes and sizes. And at bakeries like Ginger Betty's in Quincy, Massachusetts, there's any shape and size you can imagine. But one form of gingerbread has captured our imagination like no other. I speak, of course, of the Gingerbread Man. If only Queen Elizabeth I were alive to see the enduring popularity of her gingerbread creation. That's right, the British Virgin Queen reportedly invented gingerbread men during her reign in the late 16th century. Actually, her royal baker did. To impress her most favored courtiers, the Queen had him create gingerbread cookie likenesses of them as gifts. Some historians dispute the idea of a sole inventor of the gingerbread man, but Elizabeth I can certainly be credited with popularizing the idea. Thankfully, today's modern gingerbread man is available to us commoners, and most are pretty unassuming. But one particular gingerbread man became internationally famous because the recipe for him was a secret. A secret hidden in Washington, D.C. It was here that Howard Ward of Cheryl's Bakery served what many have called the best gingerbread men they've ever tasted. I mean, these cookies were legendary. But after the bakery closed in 2000, Howard kept the recipe to himself. Fate has denied me the chance to experience one of Ward's gingerbread men, so like many before me, I'm turning to Nancy Baggett. Nancy is a world-renowned food writer and author of The All-American Dessert Book, which contains Nancy's 6-month effort to duplicate Howard Ward's gingerbread. After numerous taste testings, Cheryl's Bakery regulars finally dubbed these little guys the real deal, and now the world knows the secret. It was time for me to see what the fuss was all about. Unlike the doughy medieval gingerbread, this gingerbread was firmer, a cross between a cake and a cookie.
This is divine. I taste honey in it too, am I right?
Honey and molasses both.
Well, I want to know how to...
They're part of the secret as well. They keep it moist.
Nancy's recipe starts with 2 sticks of melted butter, followed by molasses and honey.
People alternately told me they thought that the molasses was a secret and honey was a secret. So I thought, hey, we'll use both.
Sounds good to me. Her dry mix adds baking soda, salt, baking powder, cinnamon, ginger, and cloves to 3 1/3 cups of flour. When the mixes were blended...
Great, this looks nice. Look at that. It's a beautiful color as well. Huh?
Right, right.
The aroma is already highly gingerbready, but the best is yet to come. After a quick chill, the dough is firm and ready to roll between 2 sheets of parchment paper. Now we shape our figures and add a traditional decoration.
Do the raisins add any flavor to it?
They do. Actually, they go really nicely with the dough.
Next stop, Ovenland. And 10 minutes later, voila!
Smell good, don't they?
They smell amazing. Look at that. That's beautiful. And they've kind of plumped up, or they're browned up. That's very nice. And this is how we serve them.
No, you add a glaze. The secret glaze, which keeps them nice and moist.
So that was the secret, the glaze. I knew it all the time. Now all that remains between these cookies and my mouth is 1 excruciating hour to allow the glaze to set.
So these are ready.
They are ready to eat.
Oh my goodness.
For it.
And I like how they're kind of, chewy and kind of sticky, but it's so inviting. You don't mind if I take some home, right?
No, I'll make you a goodie bag.
No need for a bag. I got a big hand for it too. I'll take 3 or 4. And this one.
1 for the road?
1 for the road, but it's gonna have to be headless. These are the best gingerbread cookies I've had in my life.
Thank you.
No doubt. And the head tastes the best.
Coming up, from pancakes to cocktails to toothpaste, we'll see how today's gingerbread lovers are feeding their need. But first, here's some housing that actually goes crunch. Learn the secrets to making an award-winning gingerbread house. Without a doubt, Americans love their gingerbread. Maybe it's because gingerbread is so completely versatile. Not many delicious treats can pass both as a work of art and an American holiday tradition. When the English first arrived in the New World, they came bearing ginger, and it had an immediate impact on early American colonial life. None other than George Washington was an avowed lover of gingerbread. In fact, his wife Martha had a special gingerbread recipe in her personal cookbook. As the country grew, recipes were often tweaked, making use of ingredients that were only available regionally, such as maple syrup in New England or sorghum molasses in the South. By the turn of the century, there were countless recipes for gingerbread. These regional recipes were often used in the making of the most popular of gingerbread creations, the gingerbread house. The idea of an edible gingerbread house originated with German Lebkuchen houses in the early 19th century. These were inspired by the Grimm brothers' version of the traditional Hansel and Gretel folktale. Gingerbread was already a Christmas tradition in Europe, and since houses were fun and easy to decorate, they became a part of the evolving holiday traditions of Europe and America. In America, we continue to celebrate these houses in a big way with gingerbread house contests held annually in small towns and large cities. One of the most prestigious contests is the National Gingerbread House Competition at the Grove Park Inn in Asheville, North Carolina. Here, 250 entries are carefully judged by culinary experts. You don't have to be a famous baker to enter, just imaginative and talented. These elaborate creations start with a design, a model, and the final construction using all edible materials. I'd like to trade my apartment in for this place. The competition is judged in 3 categories: adults, children ages 11 to 15, and kids under age 10. The detail on display here is amazing, so the entrants need to bring their A-game to possibly claim the $1,000 first prize. Another gingerbread house contest takes place annually at the Gingerbread on Broadway competition at New York City's Marriott Marquis. Unlike the Asheville event, this contest is limited to top teams from East Coast culinary schools. It's a great place to seek out some prime award-winning pastry chef secrets that you can use to take your gingerbread house making to the next level, or wing. As I found out, it all begins with the basics.
When I design a gingerbread house, I like to do something that's along the lines of what would a gingerbread man want to live in.
The secret to making a great gingerbread house is having a solid foundation, a solid base that we can start creating upon.
With the baking process so crucial, what's their secret?
We cook our liquids, our corn syrup, butter, brown sugar, before we add it to the dry ingredients. It results in a sturdy dough, very smooth when you sheet it out. The dough is cooked at 350 degrees. It takes on a little bit of color, but it bakes very flat, very smooth. It doesn't buckle or bubble at all. This is very useful.
We par baked our gingerbread and we used a metal ruler to mark it. After that, we baked it off a few times so that it would harden, and we ended up coating it with baker's chocolate so it would be sturdier.
Another great secret, think inside the box.
I think the interior really sells the house. It brings the whole piece together, and it gives that little insight into the value of the cottage and not just the appearance of the cottage.
Of course, nothing beats an imaginative use of frosting. Then there's candy. Classics like Necco wafers, jelly beans, and chocolate kisses are a can't miss. But the secret to success is thinking of something no one did.
The roof is very unique. We had a student who found limited edition vanilla Tootsie Rolls, and she melted them down and sort of rolled it into a larger piece and used a cookie cutter to slice all of these. And I don't know if you can see underneath, but they created gumdrop enclosures for the lights so that they would be edible. Everything exposed would be edible.
How cool is that? And what's even cooler is knowing that many of these young chefs had never made a gingerbread house before. They just let their imaginations run wild. When we come back, I'll tell you how to get gingerbread into a cocktail. And gingerbread toothpaste? Stay tuned. We know gingerbread is great during the holidays, and now there's lots of ways to enjoy it. Towards the end of the year, the gingerbread flavor becomes available in coffee, donuts, bagels, pancakes, beer, and soufflés. Some of these foods get their flavor from ground ginger, ginger oil, or gingerbread syrup, and you can make these flavors any time of the year. For ginger oil, you take slices of ginger and slow cook them with peanut or olive oil, then strain out the ginger. For gingerbread syrup, all you need is 2 cups of water, 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, 2.5 teaspoons of ground ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So now gingerbread flavor can be put in anything, even a gingerbread nightcap. Mixologist Lauren Belefsky has created several innovative and delicious gingerbread flavored cocktails. Lauren mixes vanilla vodka, vanilla bean syrup, Kahlua, and gingerbread syrup for her own version of a gingerbread house, all served up in a cookie crumb rimmed glass. Lauren's version of the classic drink, the old-fashioned, uses bourbon, orange juice, brandied cherry syrup with, of course, gingerbread syrup. Brandied cherries are the perfect final touch. Lauren's Ginger Snap breaks away from the familiar, combining fresh ginger with gin, nutmeg, cinnamon, vanilla bean syrup, and milk. Add a cinnamon stick and you're ready to enjoy.
Finally, when it's time to go to sleep and you just can't bear to depart from that gingerbread flavor, well, don't worry, folks, because now there's toothpaste that tastes like gingerbread.
And here's something nice to sleep on. New York's Chelsea Market annually displays gingerbread houses created by New York's finest pastry chefs. These one-of-a-kind houses are raffled off, with proceeds benefiting various programs for New York's homeless animals. Now that's a great use for gingerbread.
Although I'm a huge fan of the Gingerbread Man, after that contest, I'm a bigger fan of the Gingerbread House. I mean, this is amazing. You can have fun with your friends and your family, and there's some built-in benefits. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna use this for a chimney. Is that all right? Okay.